Calls are growing for a criminal investigation into Baltimore City Schools after a series of Fox 45 News reports found students with disabilities may not have been getting the education they deserve under the law.
Project Baltimore's Chris Papps explains a former city prosecutor says the city state's attorney's office should get involved.
Roya Hanna is a former prosecutor.
This is government waste and government abuse.
And current candidate for city state's attorney.
And we need to root that out.
Who says Project Baltimore's recent findings concerning Qwantay, Spearman, and Darian flood need to be investigated because she sees a number of laws that could have potentially been violated.
When the legislature appropriates money for a specific task and then that task does not get accomplished and people are falsifying records, that is something that we need to look into.
Spearman and Flood attend different Baltimore City schools. Both have disabilities that under federal law require them to have a private duty nurse while at school. But throughout the year, city schools often could not provide a nurse, and Spearman and Flood missed a significant amount of class. City schools blames a nursing shortage.
Had I kept my son home from school, I would be in trouble. There would be consequences if I had just kept him out of school for whatever reason.
According to Maryland law, a student is truant when they miss more than 20% of school days without a legal reason. Parents can face $500 in fines or jail time. By law, it appears Spearman and Flood were truant this year, but not because they didn't want to go to school, because the district did not have a nurse for them and didn't provide a complete virtual learning option.
So it could be the school system is violating truancy laws.
Correct. So maybe we need to look at holding those people accountable under a conspiracy theory or an accomplice liability theory. Because it is not just the mother's fault. It sounds to me like it's not her fault at all.
But it's not just truancy laws that were potentially violated. When these two students received their report cards, they contained false information. Spearman passed classes he never took. Both students received attendance for days they were not in class. Hanna says that could be falsifying a government record. Then there's the money. The district's special education budget this year is $207 million. But Spearman and Flood did not get the services taxpayers funded, and federal law requires.
Government has to be held accountable. If a private organization did the exact same thing, took federal money to hire a nurse to comply with the law, and then didn't, they would be brought up on fraud charges.
The potential violations of law could go all the way to our nation's capital. IEPs are part of federal law, with the states providing the oversight. The Maryland State Department of Education told Fox 45 News in a statement, implementation of the IEP is not optional. Students with disabilities are entitled to a free, appropriate public education. But in order to know if any laws have been violated, state or federal, investigations need to happen. Hanna tells Fox 45 News the city state's attorney's office should take the lead.
I think that government corruption is so rampant in Baltimore that we often just ignore the problem. You know, we see it each and every single day, and it's just so big that people tend to ignore it.
The city state's attorney's office, according to Hanna, should send this matter to a grand jury, subpoena records, utilize economic crimes investigators to find out why these students did not get the education they deserved and why their report cards were inaccurate. Project Baltimore reached out to Marilyn Mosby's office to ask if she is looking into these matters. We did not hear back.
You just need one person who is willing to lead that charge and take this issue on and not stick their head in the sand. Yeah, it's frustrating. It is a frustrating thing that we keep allowing our kids to fail when we know the consequences.
I'm Chris Papps, and this is Project Baltimore.